Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The name of an unarmed black man who died in New York State in the United States after he was hooded by police and held face down to the road for 2 minutes has been released.
Get on the ground, man. No. Get on the ground. Put your hands behind your back. Behind your back.
Yes,
Don't
sir.
move.
Yes,
Don't move.
Yes,
Chill
sir.
out, man. Don't move, all right, man?
Yes, sir.
Daniel Prude was suffering from mental health issues when police restrained him in March and put what's known as a spit hood on his head. He later died of asphyxiation, but his story has only now been made public. Tensions have risen again in the US in recent weeks after the black man Jacob Blake was shot 7 times in the back and paralysed during an arrest in Kenosha in Wisconsin on August the 23rd, sparking large protests in the city that turned violent. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called the suspected poisoning of Russian activist Alexei Navalny as outrageous.
Wir erwarten, dass die russische Regierung.
It comes as the German Chancellor announced he was poisoned with the nerve agent Novichok.
Es stellen sich jetzt sehr schwer.
Angela Merkel added that Russia must answer difficult questions relating to the attack against the most outspoken critic of Russia's President, Vladimir Putin. Germany is currently discussing how to react with its EU and NATO allies, while the Kremlin has rejected accusations that the Russian state was responsible. US President Donald Trump has suggested that people in the state of North Carolina should vote twice in the November election, although doing so is a crime. Mr. Trump suggested voters should vote once in person and a second time by post in order to stress test the system. The president has frequently made claims that postal votes are vulnerable to electoral fraud. Democrats have accused President Trump and the Republican Party of attempting to suppress the vote.
Let them send it in and let them go vote. And if their system's as good as they say it is, then obviously they won't be able to.
Japan's Coast Guard have rescued one person after a search was launched for a cargo ship carrying livestock that went missing in the East China Sea. The as yet unnamed man was pulled from the sea after he was spotted adrift wearing a life jacket. The Gulf Livestock 1 departed from New Zealand on August the 14th with 43 crew members on board. The journey was expected to take about 17 days, but the ship sent a distress call close to southwestern Japan. France has announced it's planning to spend €100 billion to pull its economy out of a deep coronavirus-induced crisis.
C'est un cadeau à la France.
The stimulus equates to 4% of the gross domestic product, meaning France is ploughing more public cash into its economy than any other big European country compared to their GDP. Prime Minister Jean Castex explained the recovery plan aims to keep the French economy from collapsing and unemployment exploding. The United Nations says record flooding in Sudan has damaged infrastructure and contaminated crucial water supplies amid the coronavirus pandemic.
Roads have become too muddy for traffic to pass, making it extremely difficult or impossible to deliver humanitarian aid to some communities.
The UN has warned record floods in Sudan have devastated local infrastructure, cutting off humanitarian access. Dozens have died and thousands of homes have been destroyed after heavy rains triggered severe flooding and the rise of the River Nile by nearly 17.5 metres, the highest level in 100 years. The Mexican Navy has seized nearly 3 tons of cocaine and arrested 3 people in a dramatic drugs bust. This ship's erratic movements caught the attention of the surveillance patrols and 3 suspects were arrested in the operation. The footage was released showing a helicopter intercepting a speedboat in the Mexican Caribbean that was allegedly loaded with 2.9 tons of cocaine. The Navy reported they found 74 packages of the drug. Prince Harry and his American wife Meghan have signed a multi-year contract with Netflix to produce different types of programs. The couple, who have moved to California with their son after stepping back from royal duties in the United Kingdom, will make documentaries, docu-series, feature films, scripted shows and children's programming. In a statement, they said their aim is to create content to inform and to give hope. And finally, 8 years ago, rising water levels in Kenya's Lake Nakuru drove away the clouds of pink-coloured flamingos that were the park's biggest draw. But now they're back. Rangers say their disappearance triggered a drop in visitor numbers at the Nakuru National Park, but now their return has rekindled hopes of a rebound in an area heavily reliant on tourism. And that's your international news around the world in 5, and now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.